Hey, welcome fifth graders to Module 4, Lesson 31 of Eureka Math. Our objective today is to divide decimal dividends by non-unit decimal divisors. Okay, so we're just going to divide decimals today, and we're going to do a little bit of estimation. So let's go to the Learn book, and please write your name on the page. This is Lesson 31 problem set. And they've given us an example. First thing we're going to do is estimate and then divide. So let's estimate first. Let's pretend we can't see this yet. Okay. I don't want you to see that yet. I know you can, but that's okay. All right. So 78 and 4/10 divided by 7/10. We're going to write that as a fraction. Okay. 78 and 4/10 over 7/10. And what did we do in lesson 30 to move that decimal over? We multiplied by 1, but in this instance that 1 is going to be 10 over 10, which equals 1. So it doesn't change the value of this fraction, but what it does do is it moves that decimal over. Okay? Now, when I look at this, I can estimate this, right? 7 would go into 700 100 times, so that's going to be part of my estimate. And 7 could go into 80, probably, 10 times. So I'm just going to go with a nice estimate of 110. That's my estimate. Seems reasonable to me, okay? And I'm actually going to put this symbol like this. That means estimate. It means close to the answer. Okay. Now we're going to actually do the division and come up with the real answer. So just what I did here is I moved those decimals out of the way. And now I can divide this pretty easily. Okay, 784 divided by 7. Well, 7 goes into 700s 100 times. I'm going to put this in the 100 spot. Okay. And I'm going to bring down that 8. 7 goes into 80 one time. So bring that down, put that in the 10 spot. Now I'm going to bring down my 4. And in the 1 spot, 7 goes into 14 2 times. 7 times 2 is 14 and 0 left over. So my answer is 112, which is pretty close to my estimate. Okay, now let's try it. I'm going to try and write a little bit smaller. I take up a lot of space sometimes when I write, so let's see here. Okay, 53 and 2/10 divided by 4/10. Okay, so I'm actually going to rewrite that as a fraction. 53 and 2/10 divided by 4/10. And I'm immediately going to move that decimal over by multiplying 10 over 10, and that's going to give me 532 divided by 4. Well, my estimate, 4 is going to go into 500 at least 100 times. And 132, let's see, 4 would go into 130 about, how many times? 3 times. Okay, and then how many times would it go into 12? So I'm going to say 130 is my estimate. Okay, again, I wrote an equal sign, but it's not equal, it's an estimate. Okay, so that's my estimate, right? 4 goes into hundreds 1 time. It would go into 130 2 times. Okay, so that's my estimate there, 130. So now let's do the actual division. And here's where I took up too much space already. I should have gone up and down. Actually, I think I might go up and down. I'm going to rewrite this here. I'm going to write that there. Okay, so then I can erase this and create some space for my long division. That's better. Okay, and I'm going to switch colors because I'm doing my long division now, not just an estimate. And I'm going to use these numbers here because I've already moved the decimal point over. So 532 divided by 4. Well, 4 goes into 500 100 times. So 4 times 1 is 4. And then I'm going to bring down that 10 spot. So 4 goes into 13 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. And then I'm going to bring down the 2 in the 1 spot. So now I have 12 here. So 4 into 12 is 3. Okay, and my answer is 133, and my estimate was 130. So pretty close there, pretty close. Okay, next one. I'll go back to blue. Now I'm going to do my estimate here. 1 52 hundredths over 8 tenths. Oh, my goodness. 8 tenths. Can't wait today. 8 tenths. Okay, and I'm going to multiply that. Now I have to move this one 2 times, so I'm going to have to multiply by 100 over 100, which still just equals 1, but we're just changing the decimal. And my new answer is 152 divided by, now be careful, I moved this 1 2 places. I have to move this 1 2 places as well, so I'm going to have to put another 0 here. And I'm going to divide that by 80. Now, this is an estimate, okay? So I'm just going to take a little guess here. If I were to round this up to 160, 80 would go into 160 twice, right? So let's see how we do. Let's see how we do. Okay. Switch back because I'm doing my long division, so I like to change colors. You know, one of my students asked me the other day, Miss Lure, it's not fair, you have different colors. You can use different colors, I don't mind. Use different colored pens, different colored pencils. If it makes it easier for you to see the problem, use as many colors as you want. You don't have to use a plain old dark colored pencil. Let's be creative here. I don't know, if you have other teachers who think differently, I can't control what they think, but okay, 80 into 152. Okay, so 80 is going to go into 152 one time here. Let's see, once. That would be 80. Because 80 doesn't go into hundreds. Well, it does, but it doesn't go into 1 or 15. So there we go. So 2, and that's going to be 7. And that doesn't work. So what are we going to do? I'm going to add another 0. Okay? Now, as long as I'm adding another 0, I'm going to be a little bit more careful here with this. Make this a little bit flatter there. Okay. If I'm adding a 0, I have to add a 0 here, a decimal point here too. So now I can bring down this, not the 1 spot, but I'm bringing down something from the 10th spot. So I'm going to pretend that decimal isn't there for right now, but it's definitely going to be in the answer, okay? So 80 into 720, well, that's 9, right? 9 times 80 is 720, which brings me down to 0. So my answer here is 1 9/9. For some of you, this might be the first time that we're adding zeros after the decimal point in division, so be careful, okay? But 1.9 is really close to 2, so our estimate was pretty close, okay? All right, let's go on. Estimate and then divide. The first one has been done for you. Okay, so I'm going to erase this for right now because I don't want you to see it yet. Okay, so 7 and 32 hundredths divided by 6 hundredths. Okay, so here's that. And then they multiply by 100 to change it to 732 over 6. Okay, so my estimate here, well, that would be 100. But then they would have 130 left over, which would be close to 2. So I'm going to say 120 is my estimate. And now I'm going to do the long division. Okay. And I'm going to use these numbers because they don't have decimals in them. Right? Same problem. 6 into 732. Ooh, that got away from me there. 732. Well, 6 goes into 700 one time. It's going to be 6 in the 100 spot. I'm going to bring down 1 from the 100 spot and the 3 from the 10 spot. And 6 goes into 13 two times. 2 times 6 is 12. And then I'm going to bring down this 1 in the 10 spot and this 2 from the 1 spot. And then 6 goes into 12 two times. So my actual answer is 122, which is pretty close to 120. So we were really reasonable there with our estimation. Okay, next one. We're going to estimate here. 9 and 42 hundredths over 3 hundredths. And I'm going to multiply this by 100 over 100 to get 942 over 3. See that? 2 zeros here, so I moved the decimal 2 spaces. Now, my estimate, well, 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 goes into 4 1 time. That would be 12 left over. I mean, my estimate's 314. But for the sake of being closer to an estimate, I can do this problem in my head. I'm going to do 310. Okay, now I'm going to do the long division step by step and show you how we got there. Okay, I'm going to make this a little smaller. Again, I have to practice writing smaller because I've been running out of room lately. And now I've got 942 divided by 3. And 3 goes into 900 3 times. Well, 300 times. Okay. And then I'm going to bring down the 4 from the 10 spot with an arrow. 3 goes into 4 one time. Okay. Subtract that. Now bring down the 2 from the 1 spot. 3 goes into 12 4 times. Okay. So my estimate, well, my original estimate was 314, but it's because I was kind of doing the problem in my head. The answer is 314, which is really close to our estimate of 310. Okay. Next one. 39 and 36 hundredths divided by 96 hundredths. And I'm going to multiply by 100 over 100 to change my problem to 3,936 divided by 96. Okay, well, let's see. 96 is almost 100, right? So 100 would go into 3,939 times, right? So let's just go with 39 as our estimate. If this were rounded to 100 and this was 3,900, we skip that, our estimate would be 39. So let's see how close we get to 39. 3,936 divided by 93. Okay, that's a comma. Okay, 93 goes into 3 times, 3 0 times, 39 0 times. 393, well, it probably goes in there 1, 2, 3, 4 times, about. Let's see. So 4 times 3 is 12, carry the 1. 4 times 9 is 36, plus 1 is 37. Okay. Then I'm going to subtract, so I'm going to bring the 2 down and the 1 down. And I'll bring the 6 down from the 1 spot. Now 93 into 216 is probably 2 times. Okay, 2 times 3 is 6. and 2 times 9 is 18. Now I'm going to have to add some zeros here. So I'm going to add a decimal and a 0 and a decimal here. I'm going to bring down that extra 0. And I've got 300 here. So 93 into 300 would be what, 3? Okay. So 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 9 is 27. Okay. Well, now I can bring another 0, and I'm running out of space. I wrote too big. I'm going to bring that 0 all the way down here. And that's a 0 in the hundredths spot. So I'm going to make this 2, and this is a 9. So that would be 1 and 2. So 210. Well, that'll go 2 times. Okay, and I can keep going. I could just keep going for a really long time if I wanted to. So that would be 6, and that would be 18, right? And then I could go into the thousandths, and I could keep going, okay? But I'm going to stop there at the hundredths, and I'm just going to check something really quickly here. Yeah, I could keep going for a very long time. But 42 and 32 hundredths is pretty close to 39. I was okay with my estimate there. If you want to keep going into the thousands, you can just keep adding zeros as long as you want. How much paper do you have? Okay, number 3. Solve using the standard algorithm. Use the thought bubble to show your thinking as you rename the divisor as a whole number. Okay, so we are taking these and we're moving them over. And how did we do that? Well, we just multiplied by 10 over 10. They're not showing you that. They're just showing you how they move the decimal. So 462 divided by 3 equals 154. Is that an estimate or is that the answer? Let's see. Okay, so they moved it over. They moved it over one space. So 3 into 4 goes 1 time. 1 times 3 is 3. Then I'm going to bring down the 6 from the 10 spot. 3 into 16 is 5. 5 times 3 is 15. Then I'll bring down that 1 from the 10 spot and the 2 from the 1 spot. 3 into 12 is 4, so my answer is 154. 154. Okay. These thought bubbles are always a little confusing for me because everybody's thoughts are just a little bit different. But if you can explain what you're thinking, that would be great. So here I've got 3 and 16 hundredths divided by 4 hundredths, and I'm just going to show you how I'm going to move that over. This is my thinking. Doom, 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 doom. And then I'm going to rewrite that as 316 over 4. Well, let's see, 4 goes into... So now I can just I'm going to figure out the answer by doing my long division. 316, 4 into 316. 4 goes into 3 0 times. 4 goes into 31. How many times? 7 times. Okay, 4 times 7 is 28. Then I'm going to bring down these 3 and the 1 and the 6. 4 goes into 36 9 times. So my answer is 79. All right. Next one. Well, 231 over 3/10. I'm going to show you my thinking here. I'm going to add a 0. And then I'm going to rewrite this as 231 over 30. Okay, I just moved over the decimal twice, and I had to add that 0 to do that. So now I can just do my long division. And 30 goes into 2, 0 times. 30 goes into 23, 0 times. 30 goes into 231. How many times? Let's see. 7? 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 3 is 21. And subtract. Now I've got 21 here. And I can add a 0 and bring that down. And I'm going to add a decimal point up here in my answer. And 30 goes into 210 7 times. So my answer is actually 7.7. Good. All right. 15 6/10 over 24 hundredths equals, and I'm going to add a 0 there, 1,560 divided by 24. So now I can do my long division. 1,560 divided by 24. Well, 24 would go into 156 about, it doesn't go into to 1, and it doesn't go into 15, but it does go into 156 about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24, carry the 2. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 2 is 13, 14. And I'm going to subtract and bring down the 0 from the 1's place. 6 minus 4 is 2, 5 minus 4 is 1. Now 24 goes into 125 times. 5 times 4 is 20, carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. 0 is my leftover, so I have 65. Excellent. All right, I hope you're understanding dividing decimals. Let's try a story problem here. The total distance of a race is 18.9 kilometers. If volunteers set up a water station every 0.7 kilometers, or 7/10 of a kilometer, including one at the finish line, how many stations will they have? Okay, so actually I'm going to show you a number line. And that number line is going to have 0, and the end of the number line is going to be 18.9. And they want a water station every 7/10, right? So every 7/10. So how many times is that going to fit in here, right? We have to count. All right. So 18 and 9 kilometers, 18 and 9/10 kilometers divided by 7/10 of a kilometer is going to give us our answer of how many water stations. So let's rewrite this as a fraction. And then I'm going to multiply that fraction by 10 over 10. And I'm going to get 189 over 7. And then I'm going to move my long division over here. 7 goes into 18 2 times. 2 times 7 is 14. Bring down the 4. Bring down the 9. 7 into 49 is 7. Okay, so how many stations will they have? 27 stations. So in fact, there's 27 of these little lines. Well, 26 plus the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. That's what that would look like. That's what that race would look like. Okay. Have to get a lot of volunteers for that one. If volunteers set up a first aid station every 9 kilometers, including one at the finish line, how many stations will they have? Okay, so it's the same race, so it's 18 and 9/10 of a kilometer divided by 9/10 of a kilometer. I can see the answer already, can you? 18.9 over 9/10. And we're going to multiply that by 10 over 10 to move the decimal. 189 divided by 9. Move my long division over here. This is going to be an easy one. Can you see it already? 9 goes into 18 twice. Okay, 0, bring down the 9. 9 goes into 9 one time. So how many stations will they have? 21 stations. Great. Number 5. In a laboratory, a technician combines a salt solution containing 27 test tubes. Oh, this is just like what we were talking about in science, mixtures and solutions. All right, so they have a solution with salt in it that in 27 test tubes. Each test tube contains 6/100ths of a liter of the solution. If he divides the total amount into test tubes that hold 3/10 of a liter each, how many test tubes will he need? Okay, so this is multiplication and then division. All right, do you see how that's 2 parts? So he's got 27 test tubes, and each test tube has 6/100ths of a, I'm saying he, it could be she. And she has 6/100ths of a liter of a solution. So let's multiply that. 27 test tubes by 6/100ths of a liter. There's my decimal point. 6 times 7 is 42. Carry the 4. 6 times 2 is 12. Plus 4 is 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, and I don't have to multiply the zeros because that's just a bunch of zeros. I could if you want me to. 0 times 7 is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. Okay, and then I'm going to, this is multiplication, so I'm going to add 2, 6, 1, and then I'm going to put my decimal back in, and it goes right, so there's 1, 2, so it goes 1, 2 right there. So I have 1 62/100ths liters of solution, okay, because I emptied all of those 27 test tubes, I emptied them all out into a bucket, and that bucket is now holding 1 62/100ths of a liter. Now we're going to re-pour that water back into test tubes that hold 3/10 of a liter. So now it's a division problem. So 1 62/100ths divided by 3/10. I'm going to multiply this by 100 to get a new problem, and that means I have to add a 0 here, right? Because I'm going to move this 1, 2, and I'm going to move that 1, 2. And now my new fraction is 162 over 30, and then I'm going to move my long division over to the side of my paper. 30 goes into 165 times. Okay, and then I'm going to have 12 left over, so I'm going to have to add a decimal here, and then add a 0 here and add a decimal there, and 30 goes into 124 times, right? 4 times 120. Okay, so 5.4. Now, that equals 5.4 test tubes, but remember, these are test tubes. We're not going to cut them. So in fact, how many test tubes do we need? We actually need 6 test tubes. If you give the answer as 5.4, that is wrong, because you have to think about this logically. We need 6 for it all to fit. Okay? So logic there. All right. Hope that is easily understood. If it's not, please let me know. And after you've taken a picture of your problem set and uploaded it, please go to the exit ticket where it is asking you to first estimate and then divide with long division. Okay? So you're going to show both, just like we did in the problem set here, just like these problems here. You're going to show me one side is going to be the estimate and one side is the long division for both. Okay, and then after you finish that, go back and finish the Lesson 31 homework, and we will go through the homework in class. Excellent. Thank you.